Hey, hope you're doing well today. My name is Justin Tudor, and I am a home studio producer in Tupelo, Mississippi. Recently, my band and I just had a chance to go to Graybox Nashville to re-record a production that we did in my home studio. The owner of Graybox is a guy named Cody. He's a super nice guy. He's very knowledgeable. I was really impressed with his whole process of kind of like just audio engineering and like his kind of just his knowledge behind like harmonies and stuff for vocals. That's something that I've really lacked in. So I want to compare my original production of the song No Longer Here with the new production that Cody did at his at the studio Graybox. But I also want to take a look at some production stuff. He did some synth stuff that we didn't do. The harmonies were much better on the vocals than the harmonies that we did at my place. So I want to go ahead and take a look at these. I want you guys to come along with me and let me know what you guys think about the two songs, which one you like better. I mean, demo-itis is a little bit of a thing. Sometimes I like mine better than his, but not really. If you enjoyed the video, please do smash that like button. Also hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me in the future. Let's go ahead and get into the video. So I just have both of the songs up here in Logic. I'm going to be monitoring through my AKG K240 headphones just so there's no feedback issues with my monitors. We'll hop into Logic right here, and I will go ahead and rename these so that makes sense for you guys. My production. My production, Graybox production. I will say just a few words about each song. My production, or my version of No Longer Here, these are MIDI drums that we're using, and everything was recorded with a Helix. So that's before I had my Kemper, so we were using the amp models in the Helix. I can't remember exactly what amp model it was, just know that it was a modeling amp. We were actually recorded with this microphone. This is an Audio-Technica AT2020 mic, and bass was just DI. I don't even know how affected the bass. But anyways, we went to at Graybox. These are we tracked live guitars, so I think we were using like a Fender like Hot Rod Deluxe or something. And then he had a couple pedals. We used like a JHS Pulp and Pill, some kind of JHS Overdrive. He really liked JHS pedals. We did live drums, obviously. They have a huge, awesome live room over there. And then bass, we did DI as well, but I went through a Sans amp. So those are just a few things. I didn't sit in on Cody's editing or mixing session at all. I really wish I could have, but I didn't. So I don't know what he used, but I know that he's an editing whiz, and the vocal takes and everything just sounds significantly better on Cody's end. But we're going to break this down. I think maybe the best way to do it would be part by part. Another note to take a look at is that Cody actually recommended that we drop the song down half a step. So the song was originally in B. I think we ended up doing it in B flat. And we did that just because Wade, my vocalist, there were a few parts that he was sounding kind of whiny on. So dropping to that half step really helped a ton. I think we actually ended up speeding the song up a little bit as well, just to maintain a little bit of energy. But yeah, let's take a listen at this intro. That was actually the original voice memo that Wade, my vocalist, did whenever he was first writing the song, just him and his acoustic guitar. So we threw that into the song as like a cool intro, and then I automated like a high pass filter, just a sweep to kind of take out some of the high frequencies. I'm sorry, a low pass filter. Yeah, low pass filter. I automated one of those to kind of filter out some of those other frequencies. It's kind of just like a little bit of a transition thing. Almost sounds kind of like a bomb. It's kind of like just being thrown into the distance. I really like that. Let's take a listen at how Cody did it. So Cody, we recorded it again with an iPhone just to kind of maintain the I don't know, it's just kind of cool that there's iPhone recording here. So it was recorded with an iPhone. However, Wade was playing I think it was a PRS guitar, and he was just playing it. It's a semi-hollow body. He was playing that in the live room, and Cody added kind of like a staticky lo-fi effect on top of it. The PRS was not plugged in anything, so you're just hearing there just kind of like the acoustic body of the PRS electric guitar. And then he kind of did this little like flicker fade out. So either way, that's kind of just whatever you prefer. I'm not sure which one I prefer, really, to be honest with you. I kind of thought either way, the transition into that kind of full band was a little weird. But, sounded awesome. So let's go ahead and let's take a listen to the full band intro. I think that sounds awesome. Listening to it on my speakers and in these headphones versus the mix that Cody did, and you'll see this in a second, it sounds very much so scooped, but I do think the low end is just really thumping. This mix is actually after I went to Andrew's home studio and he showed me some tips on how to make my drums sound significantly beefier than they'd ever sounded ever for me. So I think the low end of the kick and the snare and the room, it all sounds really, really good. I understand that it is MIDI drum, so it kind of sounds a little fake in that sense, but I really just love the way that kick hits. Let's go ahead and listen to Cody's intro. Like I said, this is half a step down, so it may sound a little weird after just listening to that. And so that really is one thing that I've kind of struggled with, is keeping enough mid-range information in my mixes, just because I was always kind of pounded in me through like YouTube tutorials and stuff that like that 200 to like 500 can sound really, really muddy. So cut that whenever necessary. So I think I maybe have cut a little too much of that in my mix, and that's why it sounds pretty scooped. Versus Cody's, it kind of just sounds fuller. Cody's does, because there is more of that mid-range stuff. However, to me, Cody's almost doesn't sound quite as wide because there's some more of that mid-range frequency. So you're kind of focusing more on kind of like the center frequencies of the mix. I know this sounds really weird, but I've heard that if you cut a little bit of the mid-range, then it will kind of artificially make the mix sound a little bit wider because you're not focusing so much on those mid-range frequencies. I don't know how true that is, but I think in this sense that kind of holds up a little bit. The woes in my mix, that is actually just my vocalist tracked like 13 times, versus the woes in Cody's mix. This is kind of all of us in the band doing group vocals, and then we did some overdubs. I think Cody's sounds really, really awesome. I could have used a little more of the lower ones. I kind of wish we would have just done a few more lower ones. I think that sounds really, really awesome. And there's actually a synth layered underneath this that we didn't layer underneath ours that also makes it sound really, really full. Sounds awesome. Let's take a listen at when the vocals first come in on the verse. All these years, and what can I look back on? Wasted here, another pointless sad song. So I'll say that's one thing that I did that Cody didn't do, and we could have requested this, but I just didn't. I really, really like the vocal delays, like the throws that I'm doing at the end of each phrase in the verse. But listen to what I was talking about whiny. Like, just even the first few words sound kind of whiny. All these years, and what can... Sounds like he's really, really reaching for that note. Versus in Cody's mix, let's see. All these years, and what can I look back on? Wasted here. Man, the vocal, there's literally no competition. We don't even need to talk about the vocal anymore, because Cody's just like, the vocal takes are way better. Cody, the process that Cody went through, he got like 4 or 5 different takes from Wade on pretty much every part of the song, and then he comped them together when we weren't even in the room. He didn't really want our opinions and like maybe conflicting opinions of which vocal take is the best to kind of get in the way of what he thought would be the best. And honestly, we went in there and there was really nothing that we wanted to change. We really just loved his vocal comp right from the start when we first heard it. And man, that vocal is just right in your face. It sounds so good. Mine just sounds like it's more in a room than his, I guess. What can I look back on? It's not loud enough. I thought that it was too loud at one point, but it sounds kind of over affected. It's not really in your face, maybe a little under compressed. Sounds kind of whiny. Cody's vocal is just so good. Taking a look at the pre-chorus now. In the midst of me hides my own worst enemy, my desire. I said pre-chorus, I meant chorus, my bad. But so yeah, let's take a listen to that just one more time. In the midst of me hides my own worst enemy. All right, I'm gonna go into Cody's now. In the midst of me hides my own worst enemy, my desire. Oh, in death you're no longer here. I'm not a slave to my heart of fears. You're a liar. You're a liar. So that just the harmonies just come in and it's obviously a chorus. Like I messed up and called it a pre-chorus on my mix, but it is so obviously a chorus on Cody's production just because those harmonies just carry it so well. In the midst of me. Oh man, I love that so much. In the midst of me. See, mine, whenever you go into the chorus on my mix, it kind of just fades in with the rest of the song. It's really lackluster in my opinion, and then you have these harmonies that Cody did. Those are just so good. And then it goes back in after the chorus goes back into the woes. I will say that is one thing that I do prefer a little bit more about the woes and that kind of like interlude-ish kind of part. I prefer that in my mix to Cody's mix because there are more horns. Like you can hear the horns much better in my mix. Let's listen to it in Cody's mix. And again, that's another note that we could have given him, but just everyone in the band really loved this. I personally I really liked the horns. It kind of sounded really like just thematic, and like that was kind of the theme of the song was these horns at the intro, middle, and end. I thought those sounded really cool. So that's kind of missing a little bit in this mix, in my opinion. But again, that's kind of just a taste thing. Let's take a listen at that second verse. I know now everything I wanted was never worth feeling so lost, but now I'm found. Okay, so let's take a look at that second verse in Cody's mix. I know now everything I wanted was never worth feeling so lost, but now and I think really that's kind of just those harmonies on the vocals again, just at the end of each phrase, kind of just really add to the second verse. It adds something that the first verse didn't have. And just the guitar parts, the second verse changes a lot compared to the first verse, but really, in my opinion, in my mix, the vocal sounds exactly the same, just different lyrics. But in Cody's mix, then you have some harmonies hitting at the very end of the phrase. And just, I think really you can just really tell in the guitar and the drums and everything that the performances were just much better than in my mix. They just sounds like I'm playing harder, in my opinion, on this last chorus of brown. If you listen to that in this one. The second chorus is exactly the same, basically. I think the next big part we need to look at is the really big kind of like triumphant ending coming out of the last chorus. Sounds huge. Let's take a listen to Cody's. So really, besides just the mix sounding way better and just kind of like everything being of better quality in general, I think the big difference that you hear there is pretty much just the drum performance. We're doing double time on there, and then finally there at the end, in my production, we just kind of left that going the whole time and then crashed out big. In this one though, Cody kind of had the idea for Cole to follow the guitar a little more, so you kind of keep doubling up, and then finally he does that and we don't wash out. So there's another thing I just noticed. There's a lead part that kind of like almost, the lead part is almost kind of challenging the lead vocal, in my opinion. It's kind of like the same melody, and it's almost kind of like competing with it for the attention of the listener. Sounds kind of cool. You can hear that much more in Cody's mix, and you can't even hear it in my mix, but that's what it was meant to do. Yeah, that just, the ending sounds way bigger. I mean, to me, there's really no competition. There is some stuff that I like about my mix better than I liked about Cody's mix. I think the low end of pretty much just the kick drum, I think the bass, guitar, and everything, probably the low end is much more controlled on Cody's. I just really like that big, just kind of hit you in your chest kick drum sound. But Cody's mix sounds significantly fuller. Everything is much more well balanced. There are parts and production stuff included in his that kind of lift up the song in certain spots and kind of just add dynamics to the song throughout the song. So like I said, there's really just no competition. Cody's song just sounds significantly better, and I'm just really grateful that we had the chance to be there. We'll be back there at the end of June to record another song, so we're very excited about that. I will link this song. It was just released on Spotify. I will link it in the description of this video so you guys can go check that out if you would like. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please do smash that like button. Again, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me in the future. I'll see you guys in the next one.